African Americans.
I don't know who this is going to piss off, and I frankly don't care. I am not African. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being African. I'm not saying that I have a fear of being African. I'm simply stating the fact that my people, my ancestors, have been in America for a very long time. I am a Black American. I am not an African American. We don't even look the same.
Come on, man. Come on. It's not really a laughing matter because it's very sad, but what is with the hatred toward your ancestors? Now, you might be looking at me thinking, what are you talking about? Well, there's this big thing that I'm seeing online, and I'm hoping it's not the majority of you guys. I don't think it is. But if not, there is this loud minority which really need to be checked, where they just hate on Africa. What is going on? And not just Africa, the whole of the Black diaspora. Yes, Black, because I'm Black, I'm British, I was born in the UK, born in Manchester, England, but my parents are Afro-Jamaican. And when I say Afro-Jamaican, I mean they are Black people that were born in Jamaica, that came to the UK during the Windrush generation, when they were like 8, 9 years old, and essentially grew up here as well. And now they're in their 60s. But they are Jamaican, Afro-Jamaican specifically. Their ancestors went through the same thing that your ancestors did. So where is the hate coming from? And even if you have somebody who's Nigerian, like my wife, for example, she's Nigerian, born in London. But even her mum was born in London, but her mum was Nigerian. Her dad was born in Nigeria. She's Black, just like me. We're both of African descent, West African. I'll put up a screenshot of my actual ancestry. This is going to be the same with a lot of you African Americans. So why the hatred? I think I've seen even some African Americans with a higher concentration of African ancestry than me. What's going on? Now, me personally, I'm very thankful that my first impressions of an African Americans wasn't a lot of these xenophobic people that I'm seeing online popping up. I'm very thankful for that. Years ago, I met a bunch of African Americans in Senegal. So I traveled to Senegal back in 2016 for a jiu-jitsu competition, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it was great. Now, I do have earthly extended family in New York City. But again, I didn't realize back then when I was younger, when I was 18, when I went to New York for the first time, I didn't realize that a lot of African Americans wouldn't see them as African American or Black American. I didn't realize that looking back. Because I was just seeing, oh yeah, there's my cousins, they were born in New York, Black American. And I'm not trying to say that African American isn't an ethnic group, obviously it is. There's a lot of history there, but there's also a shared history between me, the Nigerian who was born in the UK, the Nigerian that was born in America and all over the rest of the world as well. Because even if a Nigerian born in the UK didn't come from, ancestrally speaking, they didn't have anybody in their ancestral line that were enslaved, that doesn't mean that their ancestors don't share any relations whatsoever with our ancestors. Of course they do. You've just seen it. I'm 50% Nigerian. 50%. The majority of my ancestry comes from Nigeria, and then some from Ghana and other parts of West Africa. But what's the need for bigging up? And I'll see some African Americans online, and I don't really go in these forums at all. This is just stuff I hear about. But they will brag about having an admixture of European admixture. And that's what I'm saying also about hating your ancestors. What's going on there, man? You're bragging about a time when a white slave owner, a white supremacist slave owner, forced his DNA into one of your other black ancestors. Your great 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 grandmother or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Were raped. And you're bragging about having that in your DNA. Now, I'm aware interracial relationships are a thing. I'm aware there's consensual interracial relationships, and some of that admixture can come from that, but the vast majority of it doesn't. I don't believe so. I do not believe that. Today, yes, you will see interracial couples, and that's a whole other story. I won't get into that anyway. But back then, they were forcing their way in to your ancestral bloodline. And you're bragging about having a piece of that in your ancestry. That's sad, man. That's sad. The disconnect that I see that a lot of African Americans have toward Africa, West Africa in particular, and Central Africa as well, is appalling. And again, I'm very thankful that my first impressions of meeting African Americans, actual African Americans, when I say actual, I mean the ones that were descendants of the enslaved Africans in America. I'm thankful that they didn't have that mindset, and that when I met them, they were also of the truthful view that they are African, essentially. Now, a lot of people get upset, and I kind of get it. I kind of get it. Because here's why. When I was younger, I was also sometimes a little bit annoyed when some of my friends, I had this white mate, for example, he would kind of say, "You're African." He would kind of like pick at me a little bit, say, "You're African." And I'll say, "No, I'm not, I'm Jamaican." But he would say that to annoy me, knowing it was going to annoy me. And that was a thing here in the UK. I think, not all of them, but there were a lot of Jamaican people or people of Afro-Caribbean descent who would deny their African ancestry as well. And I've seen that firsthand as well as an adult. I remember speaking to this one woman, girl, she was 19, I can't remember exactly where her ancestry is from. I don't know if it was Barbados or, I don't think it was Haiti, one of the Caribbean islands anyway. And I was like, you know you're African, right? Essentially, like that's where your ancestry would come from. You are Afro-Caribbean. She was like, no, I'm Caribbean. I was like, no, you're Afro-Caribbean. She was like, no, I'm just Caribbean. And I would try and explain to her, that ethnically speaking, if you were to do a DNA test, an ancestry DNA test, it would only show up as Africa. Africa would show up. Now, obviously, there is a thing there where it does point out Caribbean. I think it just shows some sort of history of Afro-Caribbean if you go deeper into the test, if they are from that region. The main point of the test is to determine where you're from ethnically. So, for example, a white European, a white person from America, it will show up for them as maybe having German, maybe some Spanish, Portuguese, or whatever. That would show up for them. It wouldn't show up as white American because, I mean, white people aren't native to the Americas. Let's just be honest, they're not. So that wouldn't show up for them. It would just say Europe, 100% in many cases I've seen. Yet when black people from the diaspora that aren't from Africa directly get told that they are African, they get very upset. That shouldn't be. I'm not saying it's wrong to acknowledge wherever you are, wherever you come from, in terms of your geographic location, because obviously African Americans have been in America for hundreds of years. I understand that. Even me myself, right? I'm happy to say that I have an Afro-Caribbean ancestry. I'm Black British of Afro-Caribbean descent. I wouldn't just say I'm Nigerian, right? Because you can understand how that would get somewhat confusing, right? Essentially, I am African. I wouldn't have a problem with someone mistaking me for Nigerian, straight Nigerian, and that's happened to me before. I'm not going to be like, oh no, I'm not Nigerian, oh no, I'm not African. No, because essentially I am. However, I don't think it's It's not a bad thing, obviously, to acknowledge where you're from geographically. Even to the point of your nationality. And I'm not going to... People can tell by my accent, for example, that I have an English accent, a British accent. I was born in Manchester, England, the UK. I am Mancunian. Narrow it down further, an area in Manchester called New Boston. A lot of African Americans or Americans, maybe not even... You might not even have heard of Manchester. I know some of you have. A lot of people from America only know of London when it comes to England or the UK, or places like Ireland or Scotland or whatever. Excuse me. But I just want to address this point because it's sad. These diaspora wars that you guys are having, there are Afro-Brazilians, Afro-Latinos, again, that went through or that are descended from people who went through the exact same thing that your ancestors did. Come on. And again, I'm sure it's not all of you. I'm not trying to generalize here. I know it's not all of you. I know it's not. But it's sad that there are a loud minority even in the first place. I'm hoping it's a minority. I'm hoping a lot of African Americans, most of you guys don't think this way. I really am hoping that. I know it's not all of you, but... And I think it's a thing as well with America and Americans in general. A lot of people from America, it's my understanding that they've never left America and that they only view America, they only see America also almost as the center of the world. African Americans, the ones who are deluded, I'm speaking directly to you now. You may not like this, but you might think that you have influenced the world, but a lot of your influence comes from being African. Africa has influenced the world. Without Africa, many things in America would shut down. The economy of America essentially would shut down. Your chocolate, your authentic chocolate comes from Africa. All the materials, the essential materials, I believe, for your smartphones, the iPhone, the new iPhone that comes out every year, comes from Africa. Right? A huge thing, these wars that are happening in the Congo, that nobody really talks about too much. It's just Israel and Palestine and Ukraine and Russia. Like, people aren't really talking about Congo, but many things. Right? I know there's diamonds now that are being created in the lab, but your diamonds as well, your jewels, the gold, all of these things are, again, are material and many things. Let me just even put up a list right here, right now, of all the things that comes from Africa that are rife in America. Not just America, many parts of the world. Be pleased with your ancestral line. If you really knew, really, really knew, and some of you do, some of you will see where I'm going with this. If you really knew what being African, especially West African, a particular kind of African, really means, you would not want to deny that heritage whatsoever. A lot of you will be clamoring to get it. If you really knew what it meant, if you really knew. I just wanted to touch on this because it's a sad thing that I'm seeing. And I don't really care too much for the film industry, or Hollywood especially. Don't really care too much for it, but when it comes to British actors portraying African American characters in movies, it's a small thing. But why are a lot of African Americans complaining about that? I personally wouldn't have an issue if an African American was to accurately portray a British character, a black British character in a film. I don't care. Yet there's this huge thing with the guy who's playing T'Challa's son in the new Black Panther movie.
The short, ugly British African David Johnson that Hollywood has been trying to force on us for the past few years is going to be the new Black Panther. I hate this. Will not be watching it. Number one, because I am so tired of British Africans taking black roles in Hollywood.
Really?
Black Panther is even an African movie.
People getting on Damson Idris's case, playing the main character in Snowfall. Again, I'm not big on Hollywood. That whole industry essentially is demonic. Right? Let's just be honest. I've even seen the recent movie Obsession. Went to the cinema after 6 or 7 years just to go see that film, after not being to the cinema for ages. And of all the films to watch, I saw that film and I was just like, umming and ahhing about whether or not I should go. And you know what? It was a deep movie. But it's not something I would recommend to anybody, Hollywood in general. I mean, it's not really Hollywood, is it? It's an indie film, but still. The whole concept of the film is very dark. But going off topic, getting back to the main point, we shouldn't be fighting. And I kind of see why the fight is... I see why the fight is such a huge thing amongst our community. I want to say our community of black people. To be black is to be African. African Americans didn't just become the first black people. Black doesn't mean African American. And then everybody else is trying to get and cling to this identity. No. Black people came from Africa. I mean, if you want to go back, the original first person, the first couple, were black. But as time went on, you have the sons of Noah, going biblical here, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Eventually they split off. I do believe at some point Europeans came from Japheth. A lot of the African tribes and nations came from Ham. But the ones who I'm talking about, the Shemitic tribe of Israel, came from Shem, right? Guess where we're all from, guys? Talking to the African Americans specifically. Where do you think our ancestry comes from regarding Shem, Ham, and Japheth? I'll leave it at that.